Well, it is 11:05 Pacific time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for being here today, and happy Earth Day. Welcome. I'm Sally Esposito, the Senior Communications Director at Island Conservation. And just looking through all the people, it's so wonderful to see so many board members, advisory council, supporters, volunteers, friends from all over the world joining us today. It's exactly right for Earth Day. Some quick housekeeping before we begin. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be posted to YouTube. So we'll send it out via email and please share widely. We're going to have all questions go in Q&A rather than in the chat. And you'll find the Q&A button in the bottom panel under More. You just click the three dots and then it should say Q&A. And Bren has posted instructions in the chat as well. So thank you. We'll have about 15 minutes at the end to answer your questions. Well, we are so excited to premiere our new and first global impact film. I want to give a huge thank you to National Geographic photographer, filmmaker, storyteller, musician, Andy Mann. We are so thrilled to have you here with us today. Andy brought his global archive and extraordinary eye to our field footage to create something really stunning. I also want to say thank you to Tyler Dunning and Brian Kowalski for the creative vision that really tied this film together. And via Sonic Weaver, a Maori woman we met at the UN Ocean Conference, her voiceover just really brought the script to life. So, the film, it is stunning, it is beautiful, it is emotional, and I can't wait for you all to see it soon. After the premiere, Andy will be joined by Island Conservation's Senior Director of Latin America, Jose Cabello, and Island Conservation's Pacific Partnership Manager, Klouldil Singeo. So, Andy, Jose, and Chloe will be sharing photos and stories from a few of the iconic places that inspired the film. We've got the Galapagos Archipelago in Ecuador, the Juan Fernandez Archipelago in Chile, and the Republic of Palau, which is an archipelago nation in the Western Pacific in Micronesia. And now I would like to welcome Island Conservation's awesome CEO, who just returned from, oh, Monica, your screen's on, who just returned from the Galapagos, and Juan Fernandez, to share a few words with us. Penny?
Thank you, Sally. Happy Earth Day, everyone. Earth Day has a very special meaning at Island Conservation, especially because when we look for solutions for the planet, we find them on islands. We talk about our island Earth for a reason. Islands show us quickly and clearly how interconnected everything truly is. And on islands, the land, the sea, wildlife, people, culture, they're all really deeply linked. When something's out of balance, you feel it right away. And when balance is restored, the recovery can be really extraordinary. Islands are home to an astonishing share of the world's biodiversity. And just as importantly, islands are where conservation works, often faster and with clearer results than almost anywhere else on Earth. When islands recover, life returns above water and below water and across entire communities. And those benefits ripple outward, supporting cultures, strengthening food security, and building resilience far beyond the island itself. This is why islands matter, and this is why they offer hope. As Sally said, I had the great privilege over the last few weeks of returning from the Galapagos and the Juan Fernandez. And being there reinforced deeply why this work matters. In the Galapagos, you feel the weight of history. This is where our understanding of life on Earth changed forever. But what inspired me most wasn't just the past, it was the future. I saw our team, our NGO partners, park rangers, and community members working side by side in the dusty, hot heat to restore species once thought lost, including this gorgeous Floriana giant tortoise. Seeing these tortoises walk their ancestral land after being absent for generations was one of those moments that really stays with you. Watching them move across the landscape and wasting no time getting busy to eat the vegetation and socialize with one another, and knowing that their ancestors are what shaped that ecosystem, it really showed me that restoration isn't abstract, it's alive. And when we remove threats and give nature a chance, recovery is possible, even at scales that we once thought were unimaginable. I got to go directly from the Galapagos to the Juan Fernandez archipelago off the coast of Chile. And on Robinson Crusoe Island, I stood in landscapes that felt really otherworldly, places that are shaped by isolation. They're home to remarkable plants, some with leaves larger than me, like this one in the photo, and animals curious like fur seals, striking hummingbirds found nowhere else on Earth. I got to spend time with community members who spoke about conservation not as a project that they were doing with us, but as identity, as pride and responsibility to the place that they call home. It's also a place we can invite people, supporters, partners, and donors, and that's just what we did, to experience conservation firsthand. To walk these islands alongside the community, to see restoration not as a concept, but as something you can feel underneath your feet. It's unforgettable and it changes you. In both places, I saw the same truth. When we invest in islands, we invest in nature, in people, and in a more resilient future for all of us. Today, as Sally said, you'll hear stories about the Galapagos, Palau, and the Juan Fernandez. And through powerful photography, film, and firsthand accounts and voices, you'll see what island restoration looks like on the ground and what becomes possible when people come together with a shared vision. You'll also be part of our very first public premiere of our global impact film, which I see as an invitation to see what's possible when we restore balance on islands across our shared island Earth. Before we continue, I want to say something really important. None of this happens without each of you. If today's stories move forward, if the images and voices remind you what's at stake, I invite you to join us on Team Island Conservation. There's a link in the chat and you'll see a QR code later as well. And your generosity and partnership helps turn hope into real lasting action on islands and across the entire island Earth. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce someone who's known for capturing the beauty of our planet and helping the world to see the urgency to protect it. Andy Mann is an incredibly talented National Geographic photographer and a storyteller. For this project, Andy brought together his extraordinary global archive with raw, powerful footage from island conservation's work. He felt it, and what he helped create is something we're really incredibly proud to share with you all today. So Andy, thank you so much for being here and for helping us tell the story of our island Earth.
Thanks, Penny. Well, it's an honor to be here. Happy Earth Day, everybody. Um, Let me just say that it's really been my greatest privilege for the last 15 years to document island ecosystems, in particular the marine ecosystems that depend on the health of these islands. Everything from field work to communities to the natural history, which worked out really well when it came time to put together a film for island conservation. They say that photographers, they give a voice to the voiceless. And I think that's true because these island ecosystems and their cast of colorful characters, they don't have a voice. And they can't speak for themselves. And I believe that images and videos from these places are important because in most cases, these are the only way that someone's going to have an emotional connection to a place as wild as a remote island or the open ocean or the polar regions. And it's important because we make the images we do so that you can have an emotional connection with these places that you may not get to visit. And my hopes is that you'll have empathy for them. And so for this anthem, which is like a short film, we wanted to, not only showcase the incredible work that island conservation does, We wanted it to also be an anthem for islands in general and the communities that depend on them. And islands are diverse and connected ecosystems, and we wanted to show that throughout this piece. So I guess without further ado, also wanted to give a special thanks to Brian and Tyler who were here who helped create this film. And yeah, I hope that you have an emotional connection to it as well. Please enjoy.
Thanks, Andy. Okay.
Hope. You can find it in the most unexpected places, in the most remote, isolated, and wild pockets of the globe, at the intersection of land and sea. These are our planet's islands, from the Galapagos to the Rock Islands, the Caribbean to the Aleutians and beyond. A sea of islands in our world's one ocean. Home to 900 million people, supporting more than half the world's marine biodiversity and anchors for ocean health. But islands and the people who depend on them face urgent and growing challenges. At Island Conservation, we restore islands for nature and people. We do this alongside communities who are deeply rooted to and depend on islands, supporting their vision for a healthier home in response to multiple environmental crises, biodiversity loss, failing ocean health, and a changing climate. Together, we recover native plants and animals, revive nutrient cycles that connect the land and the sea, and restore entire ecosystems. It's work grounded in Indigenous knowledge, backed by science, and powered by collaboration, innovation, and a deep respect for the people, plants, and animals who call islands home. And because islands are resilient, the results are life-changing. Seabirds return, native plants flourish, forests recover, food sources are abundant once more, coral reefs rebound, and animals found nowhere else on Earth are saved from the brink of extinction. With this renewed balance, people and nature grow stronger together. Because we're not just restoring islands and the ocean. We're restoring hope. This is the power of island conservation. Join us. Because when islands thrive, so does our planet.
Well done, Andy.
Oh, I've
Beautifully
seen it
done. Thank you.
dozens of times. It still gets me every time. Um, I'm so glad you all got to see it. It's so exciting to actually be sharing it with the world. We have been working on it for months. Oh my gosh, all these hearts. It's so sweet. Thank you. Seriously, we're so proud of it, so excited. It was so fun to work with Andy and his team and yeah, give this video flight. So that video is a really, really great overview of what we do globally, the impact of our work. But now let's get into the stories that inspired the film and shape our work. We've got Jose Cabello, our Senior Director of Latin America, and Singeo, our Pacific Partnerships Manager, joining Andy Mann today. So Andy, our first stop is the Juan Fernandez Archipelago in Chile. What stories do you have to share with us?
Okay, let's start story time. So we'll start in the Juan Fernandez Islands of Chile, which is just an incredibly beautiful, rugged rock island chain that's about 500 miles off the coast of Chile. Um, and it's home to a large number of endemic species, both land and sea. It's sort of like the Galapagos of Chile in many ways. Um, and it's just a place that just has to be experienced in person. And one of the really special things about island communities, specifically here on Robinson Crusoe Island, which is the main island of the chain, are the people here who have been stewards for the land and sea here for over a century. It's largely comprised of lobster fishermen and their families that rely on the health of these ecosystems like for their livelihood. And they realize the importance of that culturally and economically, like having a diverse, protected ecosystem. And for many years, they've been lobbying and campaigning for further protections to just keep a larger buffer away from like unregulated industrial fishing, come fishing their waters. Um, and so for the last couple of years, Jose and I have been visiting to help them with this campaign. And our last trip there, we decided to bring um, Sylvia Earle, otherwise known as her Deepness, ocean legend, oceanographer. She's the Jane Goodall of the oceans. And we brought her here for her 90th birthday. And if you've ever heard someone speak about islands, like it's a living, breathing character with a story to tell, it's Sylvia. Um, and she's been defending the ocean for over 75 years. So why did we invite her? Specifically on this trip? Well, because in 1965, she first visited the island. She was the first person to scuba dive there and see firsthand the underwater world of Robinson Crusoe Island. So one day, 60 years ago, when she was diving in a remote corner of the island, she saw a species that was thought to be long extinct on the island, and that's the endemic Juan Fernandez fur seal. She found one individual, but that gave her hope. They thought for decades that they had been overexploited and extinct. And so, but that discovery of one single individual in 1965 led to the first protection of this species and greater protections on the island. And so we wanted to bring her back to Robinson Crusoe 60 years later to do that exact same dive again. But this time we had a little surprise for her. And this is what it was like when Sylvia jumped in the water. Let's see here. I'll never forget that moment. Um, Gosh, terrestrial and marine protections work. And this is the joyful 90-year-old Sylvia after seeing that. It was incredible. It was like it ignited the 20-year-old with inside of her because after that first dive, I just couldn't even keep up with her. We spent the next 2 weeks just doing 3 dives a day, and she was still documenting and discovering new species. Um, but what we saw over that week was a vibrant marine ecosystem, and it's no wonder they want to protect it. I mean, again, a lot of these species, they exist nowhere else in the world, um, and they're worth protecting. Um, but it was just incredible and colorful. You wouldn't even think it because it's cold, like Pacific Humboldt Current, but it's very vibrant and very beautiful underwater. Um, Most people, they look out and they just see what's called the thin blue line. They think an island is just, a rock that comes out of the water, but it's not. What's under the water is far greater in most cases than what you can see above it. and it's all so connected. So after that couple weeks, we rallied again with the community. We had this new great story to tell, and Sylvia was there. Um, and we submitted a draft to the expansion of the marine protected areas to the president. And then a month ago, on his final act in office, he signed the first draft of the marine protection expansions, um, which is really great. So now I'll pass it off to Jose to tell us more about this incredible place.
Thank you, Andy. Um, I can't imagine a better way to spend my air day than seeing your pictures. And I just want to say that it's been an honor and an incredible experience to join Andy and Sylvia, especially on some of these trips, not at all, but especially getting underwater with you people, with Sylvia and you, Andy. So what we just saw here, Andy, really captures something powerful about Juan Fernandez Archipelago, and it's remind me it's something that Sylvia once told me. She said that Robinson Crusoe, it's a place that stay with you, and it is really true. When I think about conservation, I always come back in my mind to Robinson Crusoe, to the Juan Fernandez Archipelago, and you know this well, Andy. We have been working in Robinson Crusoe for 15 years alongside the community of Robinson Crusoe. And after those years, what continued to impress me is also the biodiversity on the water, but the people. The people is special there. This community with a deep and genuine commitment to protecting the ocean is amazing. And I'm going to put for you an example, and it's really important. Long before the national regulation were ever in place in Chile, the community had already established their own rules for managing the lobster fishery. How cool is that? That say a lot about the community. It tells you that conservation here is just not knowledge, it's an action, but sustained by a community over time. So it's incredible. For me, Robinson Crusoe, it's of course it's a paradise, but it's something more. It's also something more. It's a place where you can feel how everything is connected, where the hell of the land and the ocean and the community are all a part of the same system. And you can feel it and you can see it very clearly when you arrive in Robinson Crusoe, how the connection between island and ocean create real benefits. And I mean, you can see it. You can see the benefit for the biodiversity. You can see the benefit for the fisheries and for the communities that depend on them. So it's something that you can see there. Today, Island Conservation is supporting the Juan Fernandez community to expand their impact in conservation from ecological restoration projects, for example, the protection of the hummingbird, the five crown, the pink-footed shearwater, the migratory bird that arrive every year in these islands, to strengthening and expanding the marine protected area that, like you mentioned, Andy, maybe we can help in the future to connect the only two communities in the world that live in the Nazca Plate, the community of Robinson Crusoe and the community of Rapa Nui. This all it's a part of a bigger vision. It's not just about restoring and protecting a single island. It's just about restoring and protecting the system that sustain it. So we know that this idea that everything is connected is not new. Yeah? Islands community have known this for generations, long before the science could name it, could put it in words. We are now catching up with the communities, using the science to see those connections more clearly, to rebuild them, to scale them from single island to entire regions. And with this phrase, Sally, back to you. Because when we fix the smallest links, we unlock the strength of the world chain.
That's so true. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Andy. Island Conservation's been working in the Juan Fernandez Archipelago for, I think, over 15 years now. And I know, the time I've gotten to spend working on that project, it's a place where we always have incredible news to share because the results are tangible. The stories are powerful. And it really just goes to show how when work on the land and in the ocean is deeply connected and shaped by the community, you can have such a strong holistic restoration impact. We see the same thing in the Galapagos, and it's expanded across the entire archipelago and beyond. So, Andy, you want to take us to the Galapagos?
Sure. Um, like in the spirit of what Jose was just saying, the connectedness of an island and islands in general, this is a story about that. Well, first of all, the Galapagos needs no introduction, but it's like nature decided to get a little bit weird, like in the best possible way. You have giant tortoises casually roaming around like they own the place, which they do. Blue-footed bird boobies strutting around like it's a fashion show. You have marine iguanas that look like dragons that took a wrong turn into the ocean. But if you look under the water, what you're going to see is some of the most biodiverse ecosystems in the entire Eastern tropical Pacific. And the keystone species of this marine ecosystem is the critically endangered scalloped hammerheads, where they show up in these legendary schools, and it's one of the only places in the world that you can see that. And about a decade ago, scientists started mapping the underwater, topography of the ocean floor around Galapagos, and they discovered the Cocos Ridge, an underwater mountain chain, in which many countries are part of, including Ecuador and Costa Rica, Colombia, Panama. And it was Galapagos showing us that, these species know no boundaries. Like we are one great island. It's sure, Cocos Island and Malpelo and Galapagos, we're the ones that, see the light of day, but these ecosystems are completely connected. So about a decade ago, I did an expedition along what's called the Cocos Ridge, sailing from Galapagos with a team of scientists. And we wanted visual proof that species like the critically endangered scalloped hammerheads were using this ridgeway as a migratory corridor, a swimway between the islands. And to prove it, we had to spend 2 weeks on the open ocean, putting what's called brubs in the water, which is a baited remote underwater camera. So the idea was just to drift these cameras over these deep sea mounts in hopes of getting the footage we needed to really prove that these ecosystems are connected by keystone species. And this is a simple setup. It's just like a aluminum frame with a GoPro and a baited tube, and we would just float them. So we did that for 2 weeks, and I wanted to share a little clip because it always gets me excited from the ship because it came time to review the footage after 2 weeks. And this is the moment of discovery by the scientists. And of course, this discovery paved the way for what is now a big migratory management area shared between 4 countries. But Galapagos is showing us that these remote islands are globally connected, and their interconnectedness is important when we're drafting protections and we're talking about islands in general. But no one here knows more about Galapagos probably than Jose, so I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you, Andy. Fantastic videos. I'm really proud to say that Island Conservation also play a key role alongside partner in supporting the expansion of Coco Galapagos Marine Corridor. That the video that you showed to us under the Blue Action Fund project. So amazing, really amazing. Island Conservation, as you know, has been working in Galapagos for more than 2 decades. long time, helping build strong programs that contribute to protecting one of the most important ecosystems on the planet. But what's exciting today is not just protection. It's a word it's very similar, but it's connection. We started in Galapagos restoring individual island. I remember 12 years ago when we started with Pinzon, a small island, and then Rábida, and then expanded to a bigger island, more complex, with communities like Floriana. And now we're connecting those restored systems in something much bigger. And that reflects this bigger shift from isolated conservation efforts to integrated ecological corridor, as you showed to us. And not only in the ocean, we're now thinking in connected system, land and sea together, from the southern tip of Chile in Patagonia, along the coast of Chile, passing through Choros, Chañar, Quechua Island, and the Guano Islands in Peru, all the way to Galapagos. How cool is that? All this system, all connected by the Humboldt Current. So this is the key. This is not a theory. This system already connected. Also, our role is to restore and strengthen these connections. So that's the foundation of the regional strategy we're building in Latin America, a network of islands and coastal marine corridors that regenerate climate resilient biodiversity and community benefits at scale. Back to you, Sally.
Thanks, Jose. Thanks, Andy. I love picturing these kind of ecological corridors of restored islands connected across the ocean. I think that's so cool to really think that big picture and the impact that we can have on land and in the sea. In Palau, that same sense of connection is there, right? And it really comes alive through people and culture. Caring for the land and the sea is it's interwoven into daily life. So let's go to Palau. Andy and Clau, off to you.
Okay. Wow. Palau. I mean, there's just so much to say about this place. It basically feels like the ocean is showing off, with crystal clear water and these beautiful, culturally rich, jungle-covered rock islands and reefs so alive they practically hum underwater. I'm not even kidding. And then there's the Palau National Marine Sanctuary, which protects about 80% of Palau's entire ocean territory. And that's like 500,000 square kilometers. And it's one of the largest fully protected marine areas on Earth. Also, visitors to Palau, they must sign what's called the Palau Pledge. And it's a passport stamp. It's very official, in fact, that you have to sign and promise to respect and protect the environment while on the island. It's one of the only policies like it in the world. But again, in a place like Palau, policies is such a modern term for the protections that have been going on in this region for centuries. They refer to it as bull, which is just a simple concept of like, when an ecosystem is stressed, like leave it alone, let it recover. And so on a trip there, I really wanted to, in the spirit of the community, in the culture there, really document how these protections come from the ground up. And so here's a little film that I hope showcases that from many voices on the island.
Mralungi larngu lermungu tiling rabal water belau amlam saklo lututlel alboringi abul radabel belau almom sabak klermam almegegrengal marangalga malmral me Dal bul aklokle the rogul other belau Gidau tui radabeth lu laungi klangar regid Bang mamaknit taranguk selgistri ranath alzagalom garrew radabeth ludimuk rabelwath Ngal gegrengal gamla mogire galamaklat karath mar adrablik mar sali galfmo bom gargik til mangaryom radabel belau matyal belwath Dal bul avyagal beestroy Yairar almay Yarubul belaw auluspe ergi letyang asyukang ergith. Dolmol mlodhub artelu daso leng mosob aklamam el-ngalgar el-ang matal erol miralming.
Oops. So you can see, I'll stop sharing here and I'll pass it over to Chloe, but how interconnected, cultures and communities are to these islands. So it's my great honor to pass it to Chloe all the way from Palau.
You, Andy. So I grew up in Palau, where the ocean is quite literally our backyard, and playing in the shallows and swimming in the deeper water as I got older, and learning to glean the reef from older women in my village, eating fresh fish and seafood that was brought home by my uncles and my cousins. In Palau, the ocean not only surrounds us, it shapes us as people, and it is woven into our culture and our daily lives. We have inherited a deep understanding of the ocean. We can see this in how we have words in Palauan for every tide and every phase of the moon, and for specific areas in the reef. And our intimate relationship with the ocean doesn't stop at just an understanding. As Palauans, it is really part of our culture and part of who we are to conserve the ocean. And because we understand that just as the ocean takes care of us, we too have the responsibility to take care of the ocean. Unfortunately, taking care of the ocean has become more and more difficult as new threats emerge every day. On Long Island, the chief threat came in the form of invasive rodents. And these rodents have destroyed natural habitats of seabirds and our rare local forest birds, such as the Palau megapode and the Palau ground dove. They also impact snails and crabs and turtles. And when these animals are eaten or they die off, the surrounding reefs and marine life are negatively impacted too. In 2023 to 2024, we worked with our partner, Core State's Department of Conservation and Law Enforcement, and our goal was to remove the rodents and to really give Long a chance to heal. This partnership was able to combine science with local knowledge of the environment. And now, after 1 full year of rigorous monitoring, including trail cameras, eDNA sampling, and field surveys, together with our partner, DCLE, we have confirmed no invasive rodents remain on the island. This is a success, and it really marks a monumental step forward for conservation, not just in Palau, Micronesia region, as well as across the Pacific. So Long's recovery is also part of Palau's bigger vision, the marine protected areas of the Rock Island Southern Lagoon. And these MPAs tie back into one of our traditions, and that's the practice of bull, where traditional chiefs temporarily ban fishing and harvesting in certain areas to allow them to recover. They are living systems that safeguard biodiversity and honor our cultural values. And Oolong is proof that in conservation, there is space for both science and traditional knowledge. The story of Oolong reminds us that conservation is not only about protecting nature. It is about protecting ourselves. It is about protecting our heritage and our future. And the Rock Island Southern Lagoon is resilient, but it does need care. And by working together, we can ensure that its beauty and its stories continue for generations. And Sally, handing it over to you.
Thank you so much, Chloe. I love hearing your stories from Palau. Well, thank you, Andy and Jose. Thank you again, Chloe, for these great trips around the world. In Hawaii, there is a saying, Malama Hanua, which means to care for our island Earth. But in a deeper sense, it's about taking care of everyone and everything that makes up our shared home. The land, the ocean, the seabirds, our cultures, and our communities. Our staff live and breathe this philosophy every single day. They are out in the field right now on multiple islands, restoring them from dawn till dusk, literally, working alongside and supporting the communities to protect what we all depend on. It's about caring for our limited resources as if we were all on one island, which, if you think about it, we are. So we're going to transition now to our Q&A. You'll see QR codes up on the screen with opportunities if you want to learn more at our website, you want to sign up for email updates, please share our work on social media, and of course, consider supporting us. It's the most impactful thing you can do and very appropriate for Earth Day. Bren, you've been monitoring our Q&A. Thank you so much for doing that. What questions are you getting over there?
The Q&A is still open, so anyone who has any questions is welcome to put some in there, and we can answer them either over text or I can pose them to our esteemed panelists. I want to start by thanking everyone for being here and maybe inviting everyone, perhaps starting with Penny, to say something more about the concept of our island Earth and why islands are a useful way of thinking about life on our planet.
Thanks, Bren. Yeah, I think what Sally just said really resonated a lot with me. We are all on one island together. And I think it's this collective effort of all of us working as one that can really make a huge positive contribution to what life looks like for each one of us. And when I think about experiences that I've been able to have with our partners and with our team on all the different islands with the communities around the world, you see those communities are functioning as one. They are all working towards a common good in a way that a lot of us don't get to see every day. And it's truly inspiring and certainly fills me with a huge amount of hope for what we can accomplish as we are all rowing in the same direction as one island Earth together.
Thank you so much, Penny. We have another question about specific techniques that were used in the Galapagos and the Juan Fernandez Islands, probably either to restore them, but also perhaps to galvanize community support and learn from the stewards of these islands and places.
I assume that is for me. Yeah. The biggest takeaway that we have from this island, from this long engagement with the communities, is that all the techniques that you can use need to be communicated and need to be created with the communities. When you step back in this project and look at it, Juan Fernandez, Galapagos, Palau, Rapa Nui, you see the same pattern. It's communities leading, ecosystem recovering, and connection. So between island, ocean, people, and getting stronger and stronger every year. So the answer is, in the end, this is not just about restoring island, it's about restoring connection. So at every scale, including us. We are really lucky to work and live with people that has this very clearly. But in that, we all have a role to play.
And I think just to put a finer point on what Jose said, like it's a challenging question to answer because it very much depends on every single place where we're working with the community and what they decide is needed. So, everything from we have staff members that are focused on just working with children and their role and what they can accomplish on their own islands, such as Floriana. We have people who are working on the technical pieces of removing invasive species. We work with partners and the community on bringing back native species. So I gave the example of the Floriana giant tortoise. On some of these islands, we have more than a dozen native species that we're working on bringing back one by one and two by two until we can get the full complement of that native plants and animals back to these places. And that involves a huge variety of techniques in order to get to that place.
Thank you so much. Really, really well put. And I love the way that community involvement is so central to all these projects. It makes it feel really connected. Um, there's another question for any and all panelists, but I think I want to start by pitching this one to Chloe. What gives you the most hope about the future? What are you most excited about working on in the coming months and years that we can look forward to hearing about in future webinars?
Thank you, Bren, for that question. I am really excited about actually working with communities. It's important to understand that the communities already have the knowledge. They have the knowledge of their places, and they have the context. And working with communities helps a lot with the work that we do as well. And in partnering up with communities on the ground helps make some of these work easier. But I'm really looking forward to continue to work with the different communities, not just in Palau but in the Pacific, and to learn from them as well. Because all the places are different. Palau context is not the same as in Tonga or in Samoa. And that context is really important to understand in order to work with the community.
That's really wonderful. Opening it up to everyone else also for, especially Penny, because you have such a bird's eye view of all of the things that we have going on at Island Conservation.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Claude just said how different it is working with communities, even across one country. It's very different. Claude brings to mind that almost at this very moment, we're working with the community of Sonsorol, also in Palau, but pretty different from a lot of the other communities across Palau. Do you want to tell the group a little bit about that work and about that community?
Yes, absolutely. So Sonsorol is a south island in the southwest of Palau, and they have different cultural practices, and they speak a different language, but we are all Palauans. And so we do have to understand, their context, and we have to understand what their needs are. They're very far south, so it takes 2 days to travel by boat to Sonsorol. And these are small islands that I think they have anywhere up to 200 people. And they're very, very much dependent on the resources of the land, and very unlike the main, urban or here in Koror in Palau. But that context again is important because it's, you need to understand the context in order to be able to work with communities, even if in Palau we think it's the same everywhere, and it's not. We do have differences throughout our communities.
Thanks so much. Really, really exciting. The work in Palau is so varied and is yielding so many rich results and teaching us so much about that region and the Pacific. Can we switch quickly to Juan Fernandez? We've got a lot of questions about Juan Fernandez. Really, really exciting work there. Some specific stuff about working with the Juan Fernandez fire crown, which is one of the exciting endemic hummingbird species there. Jose, can you talk a little bit about the progress of protecting the Juan Fernandez fire crown and perhaps the specific techniques that help ensure the future of that species?
Absolutely, Bren. One important thing is that to know that we have gaps in information with this species. It's about the population. So the government has census and other NGOs like Oikonos, a partner for us. I see there that a question if we're working with Oikonos, and yes, we are working very closely with this NGO because they are our natural partners in Robinson Crusoe to study the population of the hummingbirds. So today we are creating a strategy for the hummingbird locally with the locals NGO and with the government. So this is the first step. Know what we have in information. What's the base of the information that we have to take decisions? But also we are working with the government with a project that is very interesting because we are working with the community also to have ownership about the domestic cats. So this is important. We are working with the community to nurturing and also create an adoption process for the cats, for the community cats that doesn't belong to anyone on the island. So in that way, we can protect directly the hummingbird on the island. So this is a really successful project locally. We are really close to have the 99% of the home cats nurtured on the island.
That's really exciting. And that is not an easy thing to do because there's a lot of people that live there. And so having such profound community buy-in is not easy to achieve. So excellent work there. Speaking of working with communities, we have two questions that I think could start with Juan Fernandez, and then we might be able to scope out sort of towards Palau. We're interested in, we've got audience members interested in programs and educational programs that schools in Palau, Galapagos, and Juan Fernandez have for students. And then also perhaps this could help answer questions about community education and helping communities understand specific practices that may be more or less beneficial to their surrounding environment. So how does education and community involvement play into these things? Maybe I'll start with Chloe. So we can get more from Palau, and Chloe knows a lot about our community engagement in the Pacific.
Awareness building is really, really important. And we actually just had Earth Day yesterday in Palau. And the whole entire month of April has been designated as Earth Month for Palau. That's how important it is for us. And throughout the whole month, there are different awareness programs for the environment, different activities for different age groups, from young people to old people, which is really fantastic. But bringing it back to the work that we actually do, island conservation, our focus is also on biosecurity, which is really, really important, because when we do this work in the Rock Islands, it's also really important to protect that investment. And that's part of the awareness building that we're doing. We're working with local NGOs. We're working with Palau Conservation Society, for example, some of our communities, some of our partners in the community, on biosecurity and the importance of making sure that when you go to the Rock Islands, you don't bring anything with you, or when you go to the Sonsorol in the Southwest, you don't bring anything with you that shouldn't be going there.
Thank you, Chloe. Yeah, I think like the youth engagement is really, really important. What's going on in Galapagos and Juan Fernandez? I know that Floriana had an amazing experience with school kids.
Yeah, they are gonna pass to Penny, because Penny is just returning from there. So maybe you can show us, Penny, that you see there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to say, one of the most heartwarming things that I got to see when I went to the Galapagos, for example, was we traveled to Floriana Island, and I was with a few of our teammates from Island Conservation. And we literally got off the boat, and I felt like I was with a celebrity, because Angie Carrion, who's been on our team for a while and has been working with the community and specifically with the school children, was very much beloved. And we were on the precipice of doing the release of the giant tortoises the following day. And so we had a celebration with the community. And for many years, Angie and the rest of the team and our partners have been doing some work with the children to understand essentially the conservation and what the restoration project of Floriana was and what their role was in it. And they all clearly felt ownership. So they showed up at this celebration, and a third of the stands that were available were full of these kids, and all of them took their turn giving Angie a hug as they got to their seat. And they actually ceremonially named three of the tortoises that they were going to share their home with in the future. And it was clearly so touching. There was hardly a dry eye in the whole house. And those experiences, I think, really show the value of the work that we're able to do with school children and being able to have that be something that they carry with them from a very young age. And these kids are teaching their parents a lot of things when they go home. Similarly, I know when we were in the Juan Fernandez on Robinson Crusoe Island, I actually think that our teammate Solange is on the call from Robinson Crusoe today. She and her local team there have been working with the teachers and integrating specific curriculum into what the school children are doing. So they're the ones that were standing there in that photo that Andy had with the signs about we want to protect our oceans, etc. Right. So these kids again are leading the way, and so we're happy to have just a little part of what the community is doing in each one of these places with education.
I wish Angie was here so we could thank her on the call. We love you, Angie. And Solange, gracias por estar aquí. Final question, great one to end with. What is your most treasured sighting since the last Earth Day that warms your heart and shows the value of your work? And I'm going to start by pitching this one to Andy, the seer of many things.
Okay. I mean, gosh, I would say, what I shared with bringing Sylvia back 60 years later. I feel like, there's so much cause for hope out there. And when you get to share a moment like that, where you see islands recovering, especially in one lifetime of one person that did one action, that galvanized an entire island. And you come back and you see the joy in someone's face, be it Sylvia, but also anybody that's touched by our natural world. Those are the things that resonate with me and probably always sit on my mantle as my yearly best things.
I see we are at 2:00. Sally, do you want to send us out?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone who showed up today. I know your time is precious. We appreciate you so much. We're so happy you're here. Thank you to Andy, Jose, Chloe, Penny for being here as well, sharing your stories. Again, we invite you to share this widely, share with your network, take action this Earth Day. We will be sending out an email tomorrow with the link to the Global Impact film and this recording from the webinar. So we hope you enjoyed yourselves and happy Earth Day. We look forward to connecting soon.
Thanks
Happy
so
Earth
much for
Day.
joining. Happy Earth Day,
Bye.
everyone.
Happy Earth Day, everyone.